Spring is my favorite time of the year for many reasons because it is a refresh, a restart, and renewal. I'm sure you're like me, thinking about all the spring cleaning you want to do. Maybe it's your home, your car, the back of your closet. But the thing that we don't often think about is spring cleaning your mind and your mindset. And that is something that I have been working on leading up to spring cleaning, because it is time to declutter my mindset, and it's time for you to join me. Just like we declutter our home, our closet, all these things that we know pile up over time, we don't do the same thing with our mind, and it's something that is definitely a priority, something that we can focus on, and something that will not only help us now, but create better habits for the future. Decluttering your negative mindset, maybe beliefs that are holding you back, and really refreshing your mindset, your outlook, and the way that you handle obstacles and day-to-day life is only going to set you up to achieve your dreams, and most importantly, to live the life that you want to. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Ofori-Attah, and this is a very exciting spring edition of motivation. I didn't really want to get too heavy on the spring cleaning because I'm still feeling overwhelmed with my own spring cleaning, but I realized I've been having a bit of a bad attitude lately, a little bit of a negative mindset, some things that have been holding me back, and really it's really been myself when I think about it. So I've wanted to reassess, readjust, and renew my mindset the way that I am doing the same thing for what I keep in my home, what I keep in my closet, what am I keep in my car. It's even more important to think about what am I keeping in my mind, which is why I'm making it sound a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting with spring cleaning our mindset. The way that you examine your closet and you realize you have too many clothes, maybe you're hoarding things that you just don't wear anymore, you don't need anymore, we need to do the same thing with our mindset. We don't look at our inner monologue the same way that you would look at your closet or your cupboards, your kitchen, whatever it may be, mostly because we cannot see it. Usually when you see the problem, you can address it, but that is one of the hard things with a negative mindset or setting yourself up to get stuck or feel stagnant is because you cannot physically, visually see what you're doing. Rather, it is these ongoing thoughts, this conversation in your mind that is cycling, that's repeating, and things that are just holding yourself back without even realizing it. So the first step is to identify that mental clutter. This is when it's good to do a little inventory of your inner monologue. I know some of us may have a noisier or more boisterous inner monologue. I would say mine falls under that category. Some of us may not have so much going on in our inner monologue, but take a look at your thoughts, what you're thinking about throughout the day, specifically when you are doing maybe hard things or feeling a bit frustrated or things just don't feel like they're going so well. What is that thought pattern, that dialogue, that voice in your mind telling you? Are you maybe dwelling on past mistakes or just dwelling on the past in general? Or are you worrying about the future, things that are not even here, that may not even happen, but it's becoming overwhelming and almost controlling you? Or are you constantly comparing yourself to others and looking at what other people are achieving, succeeding, and just their life in general, and feeling more negative and down on yourself? These are common thoughts that I definitely face more often than I would like, and I'm sure many of you can relate to. And this is thoughts that clutter up our mind. These thoughts really do hold us back from being present, but also recognizing what we are good at, believing in ourselves, building that resilience and determination that we want. And they really do set us back from achieving the life that we're trying to build. Recognizing the source of these thoughts is really important. I know for me, social media is a big one, as I'm sure you can relate to as well. When it comes to comparison, I find these thoughts of comparison and feeling not good enough or not worthy enough is when I spend more time on social media. When I am scrolling, doom scrolling, watching videos, watching even YouTube sometimes, seeing an unrealistic depiction of life that is not like mine, I start to compare and get in this negative mindset. But for you, it may also be things like the workplace, looking at your career in relation to other people's careers. Maybe it's a traumatic event that you went through maybe years ago or even recently that you continue to get stuck on and circle back on and you're not able to let go of. Once you're able to identify what these thoughts are, recognize where they're coming from, you can start to see the habits that they create in your daily life. You see that they're holding you back from reaching your dreams, maybe trying something new, even just getting out of your comfort zone on a day-to-day basis. It's really important to recognize the detriment of these negative thoughts, this mental clutter, how it affects your well-being, your anxiety levels, low motivation, and your diminished sense of self-worth. Once you start to realize that these thoughts that you're having, these cycles that you get into, this comparison, holding on to the past, worrying about the future, you can start to see how it's impacting your day-to-day life, and it's not how you want to be living, and it's not actually helping you at all. It's not preparing you for the future. It's not helping you heal from the past. And it's not helping you feel motivated to reach those goals when you look at what other people are doing. At the end of the day, all this clutter really does is keep you stuck in the mud. To get out of the mud, we need to let go of this negativity. Truly let it go. Sounds easier than it is, and I'm sure a lot of you are feeling overwhelmed the way that I often do when I think about changing these thought patterns that I don't even realize I've created. And that's why mindfulness is one of the most important things that you can implement truly right away. As soon as you finish this video, even if you want to hit pause, you can implement practices in mindfulness to not only allow yourself to find a little bit of peace, but to start to reframe that negativity and that mental clutter. So much of our mental clutter is fixating on the past, things that have happened that are no longer in our control, or worrying about the future, about things that have not yet happened, may never happen, and truly are not in our control either. When you are focusing on mindfulness and you're practicing mindfulness, you are being present in today. By being present today, you're able to start to see what's happening around you, check in with yourself, and build that more positive inner monologue by being present in what you're experiencing, recognizing what's happening around you, and also being grateful for this moment you're living. Whether you're someone who practices meditation, try using an app to guide you if you haven't before. I still struggle with meditation, but it is something that is super beneficial. Or you can use other mindfulness things like fitness, journaling, gratitude practices, different things that really bring you back into the present moment, that make you mindful of just where you are, what you're doing, and really who you want to become. A very simple way to implement mindfulness, if you feel like it's overwhelming to even start, is fixate on those 5 senses. What is something you can hear, smell, taste, touch, and feel right now? That's something you can do right now to help with mindfulness and to start to declutter that negativity. A great way to start challenging those negative thoughts is realize that you can rewrite them. So I always like to say there's 2 sides to every coin, or you have a pros and cons list. These are the ways that I visually think about my negative thoughts. Is on one side of the coin is all the negativity. And I can just flip that coin over and I can rewrite all that negativity into something positive. So if you like journaling, this is a great journal practice. You can draw a line down the center of your page, write some of these negative thoughts or negative beliefs you have on one side of the page, and on the other side, which will be the positive side of the page, write the exact opposite. So if you're someone that thinks you're never good enough, that might be a thought that is replaying in your mind. You can write that down on the negative side of the page, and on the opposite side of the page, on the other side of the line, on the positive side, you can write down all the things that you have done well, that you are proud of yourself for, that you've already proven you are good enough for. And one of the biggest things is practicing positive self-talk or even affirmations. So a lot of our inner monologue, when you're taking inventory of what you're saying, you'll realize it's almost always negative. I can't do this, I'm not good enough at that. It's all these things that you can't do, you shouldn't do, you're not proving that you're worthy of. If you start to reframe that inner monologue and start having positive self-talk of, I did a great job, I did the best that I could, I handled that situation better than I expected, I went out of my comfort zone, I tried something new. Looking at the positive and starting to speak to yourself internally is very important, and even better if you can practice it out loud. I love using positive self-talk as a mirror conversation. So literally speaking to myself in the mirror and being able to tell myself positive things about myself, the way I would with a friend or a loved one. This is something that is uncomfortable, feels very weird, but I promise you the more that you do it, obviously the more you're going to believe it and the more comfortable it's going to get, and it starts to rewire those negative thoughts to be removed and reinforce those positive affirmations in your mind, aloud, and in your body. Part of decluttering is creating a more positive inner landscape by cultivating gratitude and joy. So I know I talked a little bit about gratitude and that mindfulness, but it is so important to focus on gratitude, especially when life feels pretty much the opposite of things you are grateful for. When you're going through one of the hardest seasons of life, one of the toughest days, the last thing you're going to think of is things you're happy for, you're grateful for, or having any sense of joy. It feels almost foreign when you are swimming upstream and feeling like you are facing challenge after challenge. But by practicing gratitude, similar to positive affirmations, positive self-talk, you start to rewire your brain to look at the world a little differently. So instead of looking at all the things that are going wrong, all the hardships, the negative things, the failures, the lack, you start to look at the positive. And it can be as simple as, I'm grateful for the sunshine. I'm grateful for my phone so I can call a family member if I need to. I'm grateful for my morning cup of coffee. These are all things that you want to be able to focus on every single day. So creating a gratitude practice, ideally in the morning, sometimes morning and evening, I do both, is really important to help you shift your mindset, declutter all that negativity, and start to not only embrace gratitude and joy, but welcome even more. Another big aspect of cultivating gratitude and joy is recognizing the things that you want to do in life. I know we always say keep it to yourself until it's done. You don't want to share too soon, but it is so important to recognize where you want to be, the dreams that you are chasing, the life you are building, and the person that you want to become. Write down your goals and aspirations and actually visualize yourself living them. So this could be a little bit of manifestation practicing in terms of thinking of yourself at the arrival, where you want to be, actually imagining yourself living that life, or even journaling the perfect day in your life, writing it out so you understand, if this is who I want to become, this is how I live each day. This is how I wake up. This is how my morning goes, what my day looks like at work or working from home, going to different meetings, whatever it may be. You want to actually be so clear about what the life you are building, the person you're becoming, and how you're going to feel when you arrive. So as you visualize this, you start to feel that you're creating those pathways in your brain to not only understand it's possible, but believe it's going to happen sooner than later. And this one has been really hard for me because it is something I've lost, but embrace activities and hobbies that bring you joy. I have been focused on work very much for the last 10 years. More specifically, since the pandemic happened, I really dove headfirst into keeping my business alive, growing my business during a global pandemic, staying as a small business, supporting my team. And I lost a lot of myself during that time, in all honesty. And I lost a lot of hobbies. I lost a lot of enjoyment outside of work. And I'm only realizing it now, almost 5 years later, that I don't have things that bring me joy outside of work. And so I'm committing back to hobbies, activities, and just things that bring me joy that don't relate to monetizing, growing a business, scaling, any of those things, which is why I am back on my running journey. So for you, you sometimes want to go back to, honestly, your childhood. Think about what brought you joy as a child. Was it playing games? Was it playing sports? Maybe it was crafting, doing something with your hands. You really want to think about what used to bring you joy before the noise and the overwhelm of work, responsibilities, and just life in general took over, and start to implement those back in your life. Maybe not every day, but ideally every week, and work it into your schedule the way that you would with a meeting, a new job opportunity, whatever else that you are very, very committed to. You need to commit to your activities and hobbies just the same way. Spending time on things that bring you joy is not only going to help you on a day-to-day basis, but it's also going to remind you that there is so much beauty in life, even when it doesn't feel like that. So whether you start by spending time with friends and family that give you those belly laughs that you can just really be yourself with, or it's that hobby that you put on a shelf years ago and haven't picked up since. You want to prioritize hobbies and activities that nourish you, that bring you joy, and get you feeling back to yourself and back to the person that you want to be. You may think, okay, this is all great. These are very helpful things, but how do I do this when life is hard or when life is busy? The question is, how do we sustain a cleansed, refreshed mindset to maintain balance and well-being? Well, the first thing is you have to be intentional. You have to want it. If you don't want to maintain a clearer, more positive mindset, In all honesty, you're just not going to. No one's coming to help you. No one's coming to do it for you. You have to make that decision every single day, multiple times a day when you find yourself going into that negative cycle and that negative self-talk. You need to prioritize self-care the way you would other things. Similar to what I said with how hobby or activity, putting it in your calendar and making it a priority the way that you would a dentist appointment, a doctor's appointment, even meetings at work. You need to schedule it in and make sure that it is something that you can see in your calendar. When we can see it, we can actually act on it much better. So putting it in your calendar, making it feel something exciting, something to look forward to, that self-care is something that you can actually prioritize every single day, even if it's something as small as 5 minutes a day and 1 day a week where you give yourself maybe 30 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it can be, to give yourself more of that self-care, of that enjoyment, and of that positivity. So every day you should be scheduling in your gratitude practice, a little mindfulness, something that can allow you to recenter yourself, not get caught up in the past, and not be fixated on the future worries. You need to be able to establish healthy boundaries, especially when it comes to maintaining this. It's not always going to be easy, and like I said, life gets busy and we start to fall back in these old habits and patterns. So by having boundaries and saying no boldly, confidently, because no is a full sentence, you're going to be able to continue to prioritize not only yourself, but reframing these negative thoughts, this clutter of your mind, and making it those positive thoughts, that positive self-talk, and bringing yourself into the present moment, feeling grateful and joyful for the life you're living. If you have friends that want to go out for dinner on Thursday, let's say, but that is your self-care night, that without a fail, every week is your self-care night, you might have to say no to your friends. Or if you're able to switch it to Wednesday night and Thursday night, you can have your friend night, your dinner, your enjoyment, but you cannot sacrifice your self-care night. So making sure that you are prioritizing yourself, setting those boundaries, and just being clear and vocal with your friends, your family, whomever it may be, as to why you have these boundaries, and that doing it is not only going to help you, but in turn help your relationship with them as well. Lastly, and most importantly, you need to surround yourself with positive people. You are a reflection of who you spend your time with. So if you are with people who are constantly negative, they are full of self-doubt or negative talk, or gossiping and looking at other people with a judgmental tone, you will find that you start to do the same thing slowly until you realize, wow, I'm thinking the exact same way, and that's not like me at all. So you need to be really intentional with who you spend your time around. That doesn't mean you need to cut friends out of your life, but you do need to recognize who's influencing how you think, who's influencing how you speak about yourself, about your life, about where you want to go in achieving your dreams, and who is encouraging you. Who are those friends that you spend time with, and once you leave, you feel even better, even lighter on your feet, and more positive? Those are the people you want to continue to invest in their relationship, building with, because you're on the same level of focusing on positivity and gratitude and joy. At the end of the day, decluttering your mind is something that seems a little bit easier than it is, but I can promise you it will make a difference. Since I've been focusing on this over the last couple of weeks, I've already noticed a shift, especially with my daily gratitude practice. I used to normally do it just at night in my head before bed. Now I actually write it down at the beginning of my journal page in the morning and again at night in my head, because I think it's important to recognize gratitude throughout the day, as well as gratitude when you wake up and you are experiencing the freshness of a new day that not everyone gets to have. Once you're able to identify what your negative thoughts are, this clutter in your mind, and you're able to see where the source is coming from, how you can reframe that, use mindfulness, gratitude practices, bring back enjoyment into your life from hobbies, and really focus on setting yourself up to have boundaries around prioritizing your mental health and well-being, having friends to support you, and making sure that you commit to yourself to becoming who you want to be and building the life you want, you will realize that positivity is much easier than we assume, and it will start to come to you just as naturally as some of that clutter and negative mindset that we are getting rid of. I hope that you feel a little inspired to do more spring cleaning, not just your closets, but also your mindset, and start to realize that you can make those changes today. It is small steps. We're not looking for perfection. We are focused on progress and showing up and staying consistent. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can catch more motivational chats on my page, and I will see all of you on the next one.